Hello and welcome to another episode of Breaking Mayberry, a podcast that negotiated away our likeness and our audio rights and is now run completely by AI, funded by our producers. I am Marty Schneider.
I am Dan Ludwig.
I am your host.
We really took a bath on that. And what's weird was the studios weren't even asking us for that.
We just signed the contract anyway. We did not negotiate this well at all. The weirder part, I'm the producer.
Yeah. We gave this away, quote, I'm seeing it in our contract, for exposure, which in retrospect is not seeming like a smart move on our part.
I feel extremely exposed right now.
Yeah.
I will say that.
Yeah. Exposed more financially than anything else.
Hello, welcome, listeners. We are a podcast about baby boomer television, specifically the Andy Griffith Show, a production which I believe was entirely SAG.
Yeah,
right? That was a union deal, union production. We're talking about strikes now. The Writers Guild has been on strike. WGA has been on strike for like a month now. They were just joined by the Screen Actors Guild. And
fuck
the reason
them
we're
up.
fuck them up. And this falls deeply in our wheelhouse for a number of reasons, not the least of which is that we watch all these things on streaming. Like, we have gone through 3 or 4 different streams for the Andy Griffith Show. Of course, I don't believe anybody's getting I don't think anyone's getting residuals for the Andy Griffith Show because they're all dead. But, you know, the Screen Actors Guild has been incredibly important to the production, to everything that we do. We also have a theory on this show that Howard McNear, who played Floyd the Barber, we have a kind of a theory that to keep his SAG healthcare, the reason why we see him, you know, every couple of episodes, even though he can't stand, is because he needed that SAG healthcare. Anyway, this is all getting into a bit of a thing. So Dan and I are not union. Dan and I are not writers or actors. We have, you know, day jobs, but but we support these union strikes, and it sounds like they're going to go on for a long time. So right off the bat, we are bringing back our Patreon and Gumroad funding plan that we did, similar to what we did last year. So for the next month after this, every dollar that we get from Patreon is going to go to the strike funds for the Screen Actors Guild and the Writers Guild of America, donating to them to help that keep going. That means if you sign up for your $8 a month, where you get access to all of our bonus episodes, including the one we just did on Garfield, the entirety of Garfield. It was supposed to be one Garfield movie, but we just went all Garf all the time.
We garfed out pretty hard, man. We got real nasty up in there.
You can call me Garf Brooks, and Art Garfunkel. Probably, it's probably going to be yours. Yeah. So anyway, all of our proceeds go to the strike fund. If you don't feel like doing the monthly commitment, though, we also have for a limited time, all of our bonus material up in packages that you can purchase on Gumroad. And then you can just get all the bonus materials and just download those in different packages. And that money will also go to support strike funds. So that is our plug right up the top. Patreon.com/Breaking Mayberry. And I will say, you know, if you like it, tell your friends, because I'm not promoting shit on shit anymore.
We're a word-of-mouth podcast now,
We are a word-of-mouth. We are truly independent. I don't really bother on the Twitter.
We're like one of those VHSs that used to get passed around in underground San Francisco in the 90s. We're like Winnebago Man now.
That's how Mystery Science Theater got started. Keep recycling the tapes or whatever.
Yeah.
We don't use the social medias anymore. Do you want a Blue Sky code, Dan? I got a Blue Sky code if you want it.
No, I thought
that's the right answer. That's the right answer.
Again, even before Twitter went nuclear, my Twitter escape has been very healthy for my sanity. So probably not.
That's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair. Okay, so speaking of your sanity, we pre-recorded your intro for this episode because you told me a story that you could not fucking wait to tell me.
Yeah.
So when we recorded the Garfield bonus, we also recorded the intro to this episode, which I guess will go right here. Okay, Dan, please tell me, we have an update. We have an update from the Fly story.
Yes, Flymageddon Part 2 has happened.
Okay.
Our devoted listeners will remember, recently, I got a house. I didn't buy a house, I rented a house. And a couple of weeks ago when I first moved in, my basement and much of my kitchen became infested with dozens, if not hundreds of flies.
Right. There's definitely some sort of dead rodent in your walls or something.
Yes. Called an exterminator. They're gone. They're dead. But recently we had Flymageddon Part 2. Because it's really humid, apparently flies are trying to get into everybody's fucking houses. And it's been a huge problem all over the city. We got a shitload of house flies, but more importantly, a shitload of fruit flies.
Oh, those little tiny fuckers.
Yeah, which, they're super easy to kill, but there's a billion of the fuckers, so it's you just have to basically carpet bomb your entire house. Which is what I did. I went online, I looked up every possible way to kill fruit flies, I did the traps, I got, dog and human safe fly poison, mostly just fucking witch hazel. I looked up a thing that scented candles disorient flies and make them easier to kill. Like it makes them, like the substance in the air makes them slow down and they're groggy and you can just wipe them out. So I did all of these things. I lit a bunch of scented candles in my house. After that...
Important question. Point of interest.
Yeah.
What scents?
Let's see. We had one that we made at a candle lab that was just a bunch of like oak and stuff like that. We had
very manly.
We had lavender. B bought a novelty one of opposite of dog farts, which is hilarious. And the one that we had going in the kitchen was campfire. The campfire one was a big motherfucker with 3 wicks.
What a delightful chemical warfare you're performing on these, these insects.
I'm going World War I on these little fuckers. So I light the candles and I go back into fly killing RoboCop mode where I spend 2 hours just hunting and killing flies, just wiping them the fuck out. And then Brianna is like, okay, you need to take a break, come upstairs, blow out the candles before you come up. And I do that, but I say, I'm going to leave, they're all in the kitchen, so I'm just going to leave the one in the kitchen, and I'm going to come back down in a little bit. I just really want to make sure that these fuckers are dead. So I go upstairs, I watch an episode of Taskmaster, and then Brianna is like, hey, can you grab me a snack? So I head downstairs, and the candle that is in the kitchen looks like the back of the Batmobile. Like, you could put it under a hot air balloon. It's just this jet of fire just shooting up out of the candle. Because I thought, because it was like all natural and it was mostly just fucking witch hazel, my bug spray wasn't a fuel. But it apparently was, and the room was full of it. Like the
what do you mean the bug spray wasn't fuel? Oh, because the bug spray was all natural.
Yeah, I thought
it's still an aerosol, dude.
Yes, it was. I was in kill mode, okay? I wasn't in keep your house safe mode. But, so, the room is full of bug spray. The flame is, like, shooting up. Like, all 3 wicks in the candle have united into one, like, Olympic torch flame. And
like in Ghostbusters when they cross the stream.
Yes, it's just blasting upwards. And the first thing I think is, like, all right, I don't have a fire extinguisher. I left that at the old apartment. This is a fueled flame, so I don't know if I can smother it. I might just light a towel on fire. So I'm going to go with the simple option. I'm going to fill up a thing of water, and I'm just going to dump it on this thing. And I do that. I'm a little proud of how calm I was doing this. And I dump it on. And for a sec, I thought I had burned down my house because it was like somebody had thrown a Molotov cocktail. Because the glass, like, cracked and then exploded, and the wax just flew everywhere. And the wax, like, for a sec was on fire.
Hot glass with cold water, things fucking break. Like,
I did not have an alternate. It was that or just let the thing burn out.
the candle exploded.
The candle
did
exploded.
you get any shrapnel in your arm or whatever?
Nope. It all kind of like just shattered like in a close proximity, but the wax like blew up all over my counter. Like my counter was coated with hot wax that like dripped down onto the floor. And for like, it went out immediately, but for like half a second, all of it was on fire. So I was like, oh my God, I just burned down my kitchen. It was fine. And the next day I just had to scrape up a bunch of dried wax off of my counter and floor. But
what did it sound like? What does the candle sound like when it explodes?
it was like in a movie where somebody has thrown a Molotov cocktail. It had that whoom sound, like that, like it was exactly like that. Like first it was
like the movie Backdraft.
Yeah, but it was slow at first. Like I poured the water on and then nothing happened for a sec, and then there was like that high pitched like whine sound of glass that's about to break, and then it just like the top just like split off, and then it was the whoosh noise. And then the next day, while I was cleaning, I opened the drawer that was below that counter, and I saw that that was where I had been storing some fireworks. So I got so motherfucking lucky, because in addition to the kitchen being on fire, it would have been super hard to explain when just red, white, and blue colors just started blasting out of the kitchen.
You moron.
Why is the fire shooting at us too?
You
fire is casting spells.
Idiot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was not my... I eventually plan on owning a home where I am responsible for it. There is no landlord to go crying to. Yeah, so that was Flymageddon Part 2. I'm assuming that there's going to be a Part 3 in which, like, I kill a guy.
Like, at this point, I think the flies are winning, man. You are doing more damage to yourself than the flies are doing to you. My
sanity has been compromised, but I did reach a point where I had successfully, like, they're all gone. And in the, like, tail end of this war that I waged, they were trying to escape. Like, they were, like, clawing at the windows as I just, like, came up behind them. It was just like, no escape, no escape, no escape. If you wanted to live, you shouldn't have come here. And I left, like, a couple of them, like, smeared across my window as a fucking warning.
The
like,
flies are going,
I put their
Jesus Christ!
It's the legendary one! I'm just gonna, like, put their heads on little toothpicks and line my property with them.
I would rather blow up this house than give it to the flies.
Yes. No. I again did the thing where I just start screaming at them of, like, you don't know who you're fucking with! You don't know what I've done! You don't know what I've seen! This is not the house for you! Just, like, yelling like a fucking Viking.
Well, I think they got the hint now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
you fucking better.
You mean business. You are not fucking around.
Yeah. Funny
great
stuff. Great
story.
Job,
great
guys.
Story. Everybody
fantastic.
laughed at that. Everyone loved what was happening in that story that I absolutely remember.
Yeah.
I totally remember you recording, you telling me this. I was not blackout drunk during the recording of that at all.
It had something for the whole family in that. I think we can all agree there.
So let's get into today's episode.
Pre-recording our shit up in advance. We could just, like, do this whole thing in segments.
Do we want to get into the episode then?
Let's get into the motherfucking episode. Let's go right into it.
This is super weird. This is the fastest we've ever gone to an episode. Let's just go right up front and say this. This episode is fucking weird. This is one of the weirdest episodes.
It might be my favorite episode. It might actually be my favorite fucking episode.
I love this because it's so out of place.
It is. I say often that an episode of this show is from a different fucking show, but this is so very much from a different, much better show.
Yeah.
Like, it rules.
It comes out of nowhere, too. I mean, it doesn't come... Okay, look, let's get into this. Let me do the one-sentence summary. We are talking about Season 5, Episode 14, 3 Wishes for Opie. Originally airs December 21st, 1964. Merry Christmas to everybody. Written by a guy we've never seen before, Richard M. Powell, and I don't think we'll see him again. So Powell just kind of shows up and disappears.
He burned briefly but bright.
Yeah. And he just kind of was a gun for hire, it kind of seems like. Was president of the television writers branch of the Writers Guild in the 50s. So.
Oh, this guy rules. This guy kicks ass.
Yeah, and he did, he did work on Andy Griffith Show, Courtship of Eddie's Father, Charlie's Angel. So he was just a regular person, regular writer on all these. Nominated for an Emmy Award for writing on a Bob Hope and Lucille Ball comedy special. All right, so this guy knows his shit.
This guy rules. I'm into this guy. It's a shame this season would be a lot better if he'd stuck the fuck around.
Yeah, he pops in and then disappears. Oh wait, hang on. I see his name one more time towards the end. Okay. So we'll watch for him. All right. So yeah, written by Dick Powell, Richard M. Powell, and directed by Howard Morris, also known as Ernest T. Bass. Here is your 1-sentence summary from Wikipedia. Barney buys fortune-telling paraphernalia that seems to really grant wishes, and tests their power by asking Opie to make 3 wishes. There it is. The title is, of course, 3 Wishes for Opie. Just really straightforward here.
Seems to is an interesting thing to put because it grants
them
wishes. But
it
according
grants them.
to all empirical evidence, this is the Andy Griffith Show episode where they reveal that in this universe, magic does exist and is real and can be purchased for relatively cheap. So, like, it leads... You now have to assume, alright, in the Andy Griffith Show, there is magic, which means that somewhere off in this universe, there are wizards and shit. Like... There's psychics having battles on the astral plane. Maybe there's dragons.
We were just told in the last episode by the Darlings that they hang out with a coven of witches in the woods somewhere.
Which we were supposed to dismiss as some crazy bullshit said by some mountain fuck faces. But guess what? Those witches are probably legit as hell.
Yeah, we now have to go ahead and re-examine everything that the Darlings say, because the Darlings' whole trait is that they are superstitious, like mountain folk who believe in magic and wizardry. But it's real! It's real!
The Darlings a massive apology, but only in this one
for this
very specific situation.
For this thing and this thing only.
Darlings, you were correct on the subject of magic, and we cannot vouch for anything else about you. But in terms of the fact that you can bury a dead fox under a willow tree and it'll cause good luck, we now have to re-examine the strong possibility that you were on the level. So, congrats. We'll the next time that you guys come on, we're going to be a lot less skeptical of your claims.
This episode also... We'll get into it in a second, but this episode also demolishes the fourth wall at one point.
Just kicks the shit out of the fourth wall.
Just slightly, but this episode's so goddamn weird. Even the framing of this episode is weird because most of the episode is told in the form of a flashback or a story methodology, which is so it's non-linear, which is different for the Andy Griffith Show, but
extremely new.
Yeah. So, like, this is some experimental weirdness for this show. Opens up with Andy walking the street, and he comes across Howard McNear, keeping his health insurance, but not standing up.
Howard McNear seems like he is the Floyd that we knew, but he is melting. Like, he's in an oven on, like, a low 200 degrees, and he is just slowly, like, melting into the baking pan.
It's very weird. We've seen him standing on his own one time since he came back. He's always sitting or leaning or something, and it's...
now it used to be that he was always sitting, but he was like bobbing his head around and stuff like that. He kind of had like sort of a Muppet effect. Like it was like Andy was talking to Kermit the Frog, but now he's like fully boneless in every scene. Like he's doing an Occupy protest and he's just like laying back. He can't even keep his head up. He's just like, oh, hello, Andy. How are you doing today? Like the other characters have to move his head to be facing Andy.
We sound really, really close, like we're making fun of a stroke victim. We are just, I want to be clear here. Our stance on this is, Howard shouldn't fucking be there.
No, he seems really unwell. I mean, I think I was making fun of a stroke victim, if I'm being honest with myself. I think that's what I was doing. So we can, we should edit out me admitting to that. That's probably Patreon content that I took it to a stroke victim. And since we're in Patreon content, you know what? Good. They've had it too easy.
Finally, somebody stands up to those stroke victims.
Those goddamn stroke victims. Their powerful stroke victim lobby. Not gonna take it lying down anymore. They are.
Jesus fucking Christ, dude. I can't do that one. Floyd the Barber's hanging out and he's talking to Judd for about the bajillionth goddamn time. They say, oh, hey, Andy, congratulations. And he says, for what? And they go, da-na-na-na-na. And Andy, like a complete moron, goes, who's getting married? Jesus fucking Christ,
He's like
Andy.
A little pissed off because I think he already knows what is about to happen. And he's like, no, fucking tell me what it is. Like, he's not like, I don't know what's going on. He's like, say it. I know what you're gonna fucking say. Just say it out loud to my goddamn face. Like, tell me what happened. Tell me what he fucking did. I know what he did. Like a dog that pissed on the carpet.
Of course, once again, Barney is going around spreading that Helen and Andy are getting married. There's not even a break this time. This happened in the last episode.
Yes.
Right? There's not even like a break in between episodes this time. Like, so, and then Helen walks by pissed off. As well she should be.
Oh, extremely justifiably. This whole thing so she confronts Andy by saying, I have one requirement, which is when I don't want to be told that I'm marrying somebody at a fucking PTA meeting. I want to have agreed to it beforehand. Which the first thing is, this is like turned into sort of the Helen Crump endurance challenge, which is like, how much punishment can a woman endure before she just breaks up with apparently the only guy in town that's not a complete fucking loser.
She's furious at him because she straight up says, like, you ain't shit, right? Like, I had to sit and she says, I had to sit and listen to everybody talk about, like, what a great catch you are and how lucky I am to be marrying the great Sheriff Taylor. And she says, like, what do you think you are? Mayberry's answer to Cary Grant? Cary Grant! Cary Grant! Like every once in a while we become Cary Grant cast. Like, just gotta sound the Cary Grant appreciation alarm.
Fucking love that guy. But well, yeah, her first thing is basically saying, like, hey, man, listen, everybody here thinks you're hot shit.
When we were developing running gags for this show, when we were developing this podcast, did we ever think that just, like, Marty and Dan's appreciation for, like, 30s and 40s actor Cary Grant would ever just... Did we think that was going to become a running gag? Where did that come from?
You know what's crazy is we've been doing the concept of movie stars ever since like Buster Keaton, and it's kind of crazy that we kind of nailed it out the gate, right? Like we kind of did it on the first try, and then everything else has been like, I mean, we're just trying to recapture that Cary Grant shit, but I don't know. We'll give this George Clooney guy a track, but it's kind of like hitting Coke that's been cut with baby powder.
Tell you one goddamn thing, Cary Grant would never let his fucking likeness be absorbed by an artificial intelligence. No. Mainly because he would have no idea what that meant. No,
he'd get whiskey drunk and go down to the studio and fight somebody. I don't know if that's the kind of person that Cary Grant was like, but I'm a 1950s movie star, probably. He probably would have driven his convertible into the studio, gotten out, beaten up 3, like like coffee boys before figuring out that they weren't studio executives, taken a couch nap, and then gone home.
Cary Grant would drown David Zaslav in a fucking fish tank. That's all I'm saying.
Goddamn right he would.
So anyway, yeah, like she's justifiably so mad because she's like sitting there. She has to listen to how great Sheriff Taylor is, and probably a little ego bruise too, because no one's like, "Oh, Sheriff Taylor, you're so lucky." Did you notice this? Everyone's like, "Hey, Sheriff Taylor, you're so lucky that you're getting married." Nobody says you're lucky that you're marrying Helen, partially because Helen sucks.
Yeah.
And like as a character, she's terrible, but that's got to make her feel awful.
She's growing on me because of the speech that you mentioned just before of her basically going like, listen, you ain't shit, all right? I'm not buying into your whole fucking cult of personality thing. You're just some fucking dude to me. I'm not gushing over what a great guy you are, how you're like God's gift to sheriffing. You're just some guy I'm dating, all right? Fuck off. This was like the most I've been on board with her. I'm like, all right, I'm getting it. I'm getting her. She's kind of cool. I feel like I'm gonna come around on Crump.
It reminds me. I've been getting Sarah to watch Gilmore Girls, and there is a sequence in season 1 of Gilmore Girls after Rory and Dean break up, where the whole town is treating Dean like shit because Rory is the most beloved person in the town, and it's entirely her fucking fault they broke up. Just saying, Rory couldn't say I love you when Dean said it, so it was entirely her fault, and the whole town treats Dean like shit for no reason. There it is. Marty's got like some hot takes on Gilmore Girls from 2002.
I have nothing to say about Gilmore Girls except it is the only show that makes my dog chill out. So I guess I'm pro.
Anyway, so that's what it made me think of. It reminded me of that. So Crump is mad. She storms off. Andy goes into the jailhouse and basically throttles Barney.
She tells him to fuck off, and he is briskly walking past Barney and just grabs him by the arm and drags him into the jailhouse. Which I'm gonna say, one, Helen Crump should have known that this is what had fucking happened immediately.
Yeah, right? Like this is the 4th time it's happened.
Yes. I'm going to say her attitude towards Andy should be that he is the single father to 2 children, and one of them has a severe behavioral disorder. Because in terms of like the practicality of dating him, Barney is his kid with severe attention deficit disorder.
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense, and the show will never do this, but it would make sense if she was just like, hey, we can't date if you continue to be friends with Barney. This is the 4th time he's done this.
This is like, it's not like this is cause for her to break up with him. Like,
it sure fucking is. I believe
I'm saying it's imperative. She has to break up with him. Like, yeah. This just doesn't work. Like, it's not even, it's out of her hands. She should really be like, listen, man, I like you a lot. We're having a great time. This is as hard of a deal breaker as you could possibly have.
There's like not a person alive
starting fires.
There's not a person alive who would put up with this not once, not twice, but 4 fucking times.
Yeah.
Like, so I mean, this is the 4th time you've faced public humiliation at the hands of this chinless dipshit.
Yeah.
So, but
just imagine every romantic when you were dating Sarah and getting to know each other. Just imagine that Don Knotts was just like behind the couch watching you guys the entire time. Just that's basically what her life is.
I mean, he's been dead for many years.
The ghost of Don Knotts.
Oh, I assume the ghost of Don Knotts is with me at all times.
Yes.
Which is also what this episode is about. Because, hey, segues. Because Barney says that this time he had nothing to do with the rumors that Helen and Andy were getting married. It's just going to happen. Why is it going to happen? Because the Count said so, and I want to make sure I get the Count's name right.
Count Telecki.
Count Istvan. Count Istvan Telecki, which I I heard as Countess von Telecki multiple times, but it is Count Ist von Telecki.
So I just dropped something in the chat. So but before we get into it, I just want to say Barney's explanation. Andy says, "You have done this 3 fucking times now, where you go around and you tell everybody that we're getting married, and I want you to stay out of this portion of our relationship." To which Barney says, I didn't do it. I don't have a choice. You're getting married, and there's nothing you can do about it. Which, Andy is at the point that we have been at for a long time, which is he looks ready to beat the living shit out of him. Like, he looks at the end of his rope. But, so he talked about how this is the result of Count Telecki, which is a name that sounded familiar to me, because as I'm getting older, I'm becoming one of the people that reads about World War II history. Because I'm assuming I'm going to be a dad soon, because that's the strongest indicator. And I looked up who Count Telecki is.
Yeah, I also have this. Like, Me TV did a couple of things on this. So who you got? So you got a different guy than I got.
So Breaking Mayberry is being Don Knotts has summoned the spirit of Count Telecki, former prime minister of Hungary, Nazi collaborator, and noted anti-Semite. So that is kind of their mystical force, is that they have summoned a guy that died like 20 years ago that hated Jews. So
see, I as much as I'd like to get on board with you on this, number one, they say that he died 200 years ago. Number two, Me TV did a whole fucking series on this. And so there are records on genealogy so that there was a Count Ist von Telecki, who was born in 1602, in what is now the Czech Republic, basically. So, but he wasn't very, no, he was in Transylvania. Now, they weren't particularly famous. He was just a dude from Transylvania. So there was another count from the 1600s that had this name. So the Nazi is a much funnier way to do this, though.
Yeah, so instead of doing your thing, why don't we do my thing, where it's funny because it's a weird anti-Semite who shot himself in the head during the German invasion. Why don't we go with instead of going with your accurate thing, let's go with my funny one.
It's true. The Nazi is funnier, so I guess we'll go with this.
I know you were very happy with your Me TV thing that you found, but I found one that's way dumber.
Okay, all right. I fuck me, I guess. Let's go with this. All right. Okay. Barney is of the belief that he summoned, let's just say, a Nazi collaborator.
Summoned the spirit of a Nazi collaborator.
But all of this happens in flashback because, okay, let's rewind a little bit here. Andy goes to Helen's house, and he says, okay, I found out what the deal is. And she says, I don't care. And he says, well, you're gonna care. You're gonna hear this.
Gets a little sketchy how he's kind of like,
no,
sit the fuck down and shut up. I'm gonna tell you what's going on.
There's one line I really want to call out, which is that, like, he says, do you want to, I'm gonna tell you what's going on. She says, I don't want to hear it. And she says, well, you're gonna hear it, so sit down. And then he starts off the story by saying, Barney and Goober were at a police auction last week. And she says, what does a police auction have to do with anything? And he says, do you want to hear the story or don't you? She just said she didn't.
Yeah. She's like, no, get out of my house.
But yes, they were at a police auction where Goober bought, and I like how they just throw in this detail that Goober overpaid for a spool of copper tubing. He paid 30 cents for a spool of copper tubing at the auction, which you can get anywhere else for 16 cents, but Goober wanted, I guess. Yeah. And Barney bought a magic chest that, from the word we would use would be Roma. That is not the word that he uses, but there were travelers in town last year.
They have a very fuzzy relationship between the Roma, Eastern Europe, and Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
So even by the standards of racism towards Roma, they are very fuzzy. It's all just kind of in one giant blob of other to them. Just like there's just a region on the map of like, I don't give a shit. Fuck it. It's all just some guys.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they say that they got the booth or the magic chest from some Roma, but everything is Arabian. Everything is Aladdin and his magic lamp. Of course,
Yeah.
I guess the Roma could have gotten it from somewhere else too. It doesn't really matter. So now they have this magic chest that Barney bought because because Barney is interested in the occult.
Yeah.
Much like the Nazis.
Much like the Nazis. Oh, fuck. This is like some police auction because it was seized from KKK members? I don't know. It's Nazi paraphernalia. That's my thing. They found it in Hitler's bunker. Okay,
all right. So he found this thing, and he tells Goober that, weird things are happening with ESP. ESP, by the way, is extrasensory perception, and Barney called it extra-sensitive perception, and that's supposed to be a joke. They laugh at it.
Yeah, which the
they
laugh
give
track,
that
I'm
a laugh
assuming
track.
the home audience were very familiar with the specifics of that term.
Yeah, and so he's really interested in, the unexplained, so he's basically being Fox fucking Mulder over here. Goober says, all right, I'm gonna go now. Goober comes back in because he remembers he forgot his copper tubing, and he finds Barney doing a seance, basically.
Yeah. Which Barney's whole thing is he's like, listen, I'm a very down-to-earth guy. I don't really go for that magic stuff, but can't prove it does. Is it real? Yeah, there's some weird stuff going on. You never know.
Barney tries to do a haha JK unless with the spirits of the underworld.
Yeah. He's kind of doing the Joe Rogan thing of listen, I'm a down to earth guy. I don't believe in that kind of stuff. But if you do a sensory deprivation chamber for 4 hours, some people say that you can talk to ghosts. So
that's where it starts. Barney summons the spirit of Count Telecki, who may or may not be a Nazi collaborator. And
Count Telecki says, I will grant wishes for you, but I need you to go to the library and rip some pages out of some books.
And it's very... So the details of this spell are very interesting to me. Because, alright, so you gotta cast the spell, and then you have some cards that you flip over. And based on the number of cards that you have, or the type of card you have, those are the number of wishes that you will be given by Count Telecki. All of this is in the book, I suppose.
He rubs a genie's lamp to do this,
so an oil lamp, which also for the first time in my life, I was like, oh, that's how those fucking lamps work.
Yeah. I always kind of wondered how. I just assumed lamp was kind of in quotation marks, but
no,
looks pretty sick when being used.
The reason why is because every time I've seen it, there's never been a wick. There's supposed to be a wick sticking out of that little tube hole that you light, and that makes way more sense. So by this point, this is all flashback. Helen is still going, what the fuck are you talking about, man?
Yeah.
What does this have to do with anything? Goober walks in on him performing the ritual, and Barney doesn't do his wish at this point, right? The wishes are all Opie's.
Yes. He's just testing it out, but Opie comes by the next day. He's still fucking with it, and he demonstrates with Opie, and he has Opie turn over the cards. Opie gets 3 wishes.
Right.
The first wish is he just wants a jackknife. Andy immediately comes in, gives him a jackknife.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. He asks for a jackknife with a pocket knife, and then immediately Andy comes in and says "Hey, check out this thing I just found in a drawer. Here's a jackknife."
And every time it happens, Don Knotts does a reaction to it, and every single fucking time that man hits the fucking mark on what the reaction to that should be. The first time he just starts vibrating, it's his eyes go buggy.
Steam comes out of his ears, basically.
It's the best performance Don Knotts has given on this fucking show.
I mean, I would react the exact same way. That's an extremely specific thing to happen immediately.
I would freak the fuck out.
In fact, this happened several times, and, like, we're supposed to act like Barney's crazy for this. That's a crazy coincidence to happen.
That is all the evidence I need to start, like, trying to use this thing to win the lottery.
For
like,
sure.
Instantly. I'm done, like, with any skepticism. Like, signed on. I mean, I believe in ghosts just on the basis of it's more fun to believe in ghosts. So I'm on board with this shit from day one.
So, of course, he's freaking out. The next day he comes in and he rants at Andy a little bit, hands him a book on psychic paraphernalia, which, hey, once again, this stuff was never ever meant to be seen in high definition. The word psychic is misspelled on the book. It doesn't matter that much, but I just found it mildly amusing. This is still very funny because, like, Barney is trying to talk about it without admitting to anything. So he keeps saying, like, I cannot discuss this lamp with any particular certainty. I never saw a lamp that Aladdin would have rubbed over in Saudi Arabia.
Did you see that lamp? I didn't see that lamp. Did you see that lamp? Then I guess we can't discuss it intelligently, so you should just drop it. Like, kind of does some capital D discourse on it. Like, I do not know the circumstances of the lamp. I do not know what the atmosphere is like in Saudi Arabia. So I cannot speak with any degree of intelligence on this topic. Like, just kind of, like, start shutting him down.
Which is very funny because he's the one who brought it up in the first place.
Yeah. Andy, like, it's a fucking great interaction because Andy's like, are you telling me that you, a grown-ass man that can drive a car and date and stuff, believes that the events of Aladdin were true? And Barney just basically goes, you can't prove they weren't. You weren't in Aladdin, so you can't say they didn't happen.
Which is about as good of a, like, defense of the occult as I've ever heard, you know?
Yeah. Sorry, have you been everywhere all the time, and you haven't seen magic, but have you been everywhere that there could possibly have been magic? No? Then fuck off. Like, the Salem witch trials, were you there? Can you prove that none of them were witches? No. So maybe keep your fucking mouth shut.
Opie walks in, and he says, hey, Dad, you said that we'd go to Raleigh if I get a B in arithmetic. If my grades go up and I get a B in arithmetic. Well, you're going to Raleigh tomorrow, right? Can we go to the zoo? Can we, like, do stuff in Raleigh? And Andy, Father of the Year, is just like, boy, I wouldn't fucking bet on it.
Yeah. You've been doing shitty in school, idiot.
You get a B? That doesn't seem likely. I'm fucking the teacher, and I know that that's not likely.
I'm not even asking for better grades for your dumb ass.
And then Andy says, well, I'm tired of this conversation. He just kind of leaves. He just kind of wanders off. It's like, well, I got to go do something over there. Opie tells Barney, of course, that he's going to wish for a B in arithmetic. And Barney's like, well, let's just see what happens. Flash forward to this particular moment where now Andy is accusing his girlfriend of being bad at her job.
So Andy says, like, so you gave him a B. And I think we both know that my dumbass son did not deserve a B in fucking anything. And she goes like, no, he's been doing better. And there was a little bit of ambiguity. And he was like, it was a C. I wasn't even there. I haven't even looked at it because I haven't helped with his homework in 4 years. But that shit was a C. My son's a fucking dumbass.
Yeah, man, it's very funny. He's just, like, how little of a shit he gives. And the defense here that Helen says is, well, sometimes I do bump up the grades as a bit of a confidence boost to give kids the benefit of the doubt, which I am not a teacher, but that does not seem like a solid methodology of education. But all right, whatever. Sometimes I just lie to the kids and tell them they're smarter than they are. Sometimes I tell children they're doing much better than they really are. Sometimes I tell them that, 4 times 5 is actually 25. So
sometimes I just need to get their fucking parents off my ass, and I bump up their grades a little bit.
And then Andy says, like, okay, well, Barney believes that you were impacted by metaphysical forces from beyond the underworld, from beyond, our current plane of existence. which I guess is the only explanation for how my son could get a B. And to be honest, right? Like, once again, there's really no evidence that Helen wasn't influenced by the spirit of Nazi. Like,
yeah,
I don't know why this Nazi collaborator was so interested in giving this kid a B in arithmetic, but I'm sure it all makes perfect sense.
This is kind of operating on the 10,000 years of longing rules of genies, where instead of them just like snapping their fingers and making shit happen, the genie has to actually like go there and like do the shit. So like the genie has to like show up at her house and be like, hey, let's make it let's just like whispering in her ear, like, B, make it a B, B, come on, don't be a dick, don't be a fucking dick. I gotta get this dumbass kid to Raleigh so I can go home.
Can we talk about that's like in 10,000 years of longing? Like, there's a scene where a woman just wishes for all the knowledge in the world, and then the genie just becomes her fucking tutor.
Yeah, like, he just has to hang out and teach her everything.
Rather than like just give her infinite knowledge immediately, he's like, all right, I'll stop by the library on the way home. Okay,
I gotta get you a bunch of fucking books. It rules. It's the best way to do a genie.
I liked that movie.
That movie rules. If you wish for the genie to to kill somebody, he has to go to his house with a club and beat him to death.
So yeah, that is it. So apparently the spirit of Count Telecki was just whispering, come on, give Opie a B. Because we all kind of feel like Opie doesn't deserve the B. Even Helen's defense itself is just that like she was padding his ego. So Barney and Floyd and Goober go on a stakeout, essentially. They are trying this out at the jailhouse in the dead of night, like when no one's around, because Barney wants witnesses. Please confirm for me that this happens, because I watched this episode twice, but I couldn't find it. But on the Ultra Reliable Mayberry Wiki, there is a note here that says, Floyd breaks the fourth wall when he asks who is laughing after Goober nearly explodes the candle while the three of them are sitting in the dark. So, like, Goober blows up the candle, and Floyd goes, who's laughing? Referring to the laugh track. Did that happen?
I didn't notice that happening. But I feel like it's pretty fucking cool.
I feel like it's just a very brief, like blink and you miss it. I'll have to watch the scene again. But if that does happen, then yes. Actually, of course, it would make perfect sense that Floyd, of all people, is the Deadpool here, and is
we
fully
have
aware.
Got on record that Floyd is the Deadpool of the Andy Griffith cinematic universe. I think we're all on board with that.
No, wait a minute. No. Floyd is not the Deadpool, but Floyd does, of course, have the ability to break the fourth wall, because, as we all know, Floyd the Barber is also a Freakazoid character. Floyd the Barber cuts his hair, freak of me, freak of you. It's mentioned right in the Freakazoid opening credits that Floyd the Barber cuts Freakazoid's hair, so Floyd is an interdimensional traveler. And
he escaped to the universe of 30 Rock and fucked Tina Fey.
Yeah.
So he also has that for him.
Yeah. So yeah, of course Floyd knows he's on television. Duh.
Yeah.
Do freaking me. Was Freakazoid good? Freakazoid was good, right?
We just did a rewatch. It's pretty legit.
It's pretty legit.
It sort of drops its whole conceit of him being a superhero with a secret identity like immediately 20 minutes in. Like, they do, like, the pilot episode where he has to turn into Freakazoid, and then it's just, like, it's just whatever. He just, like, goes around doing bits all the time.
I think it definitely has a higher hit-miss ratio than, like, Animaniacs, right? Which
100%.
Animaniacs, like, we remember the good stuff. Animaniacs is a show that, like, benefits from YouTube, where I can only watch, like, the good clips, and I forget how much garbage that made no sense there was. Anyway, so yeah, Floyd the Barber, an interdimensional traveler. They run through the whole thing. Barney gets one wish. Barney says, okay, I got one wish. That's what my cards came up. I'm going to make it an easy one. I'm going to wish for a new fingerprint kit. I asked for a fingerprint kit 6 months ago. Nothing has happened. And then the lights go out. They hear someone enter, put something down, and they walk out. And then Barney goes outside to investigate, and he comes back in. Gentlemen! and he's holding a fingerprint kit. Cut back to Helen and Andy, and they're like, oh, well, that dumb Barney. Andy put the fingerprint kit there. Yeah, I was walking by, and I went to the mailbox, and there was a fingerprint kit that finally came in, so I just delivered it. You know, that wonderfully convenient timing. Why are they acting like Barney's crazy?
No, so they keep, it's the thing I like about this episode is, like, when Barney is explaining psychic stuff to Andy, they go out of their way to show that the book he is reading was written by a fucking quack who used to be a guitar teacher who decided to become a doctor of psychics.
Yeah.
So they keep setting it up, be like, all right.
And actually misspelled the word psychic on his own book.
Oh, that might have been an inside joke.
That joke might have been intentional.
So, they keep, like, setting it up, like, all right, this is the time where we're going to, like, pull the rug out and reveal that all the magic stuff is bullshit. But then it just never happens. And then, like, they'd be like, all right, it's time to prove that magic is... Oh, fuck, he got another one. Oh, shit, that wish came true, too. All right, well, the next one will probably be... But nope, that one, too. Okay, all right. One more for luck. Let's see if maybe this one is the one where he gets his come up. Nope. Another. Nope. Okay. Wow. Right. 5 for 5. Okay. Which, again, we've already established 2 wishes by this child. Completely improbable. Would you fucking waste your test run on a fingerprint kit that is already in the goddamn mail?
Something that I already ordered? Like...
Lottery ticket. He says, like, I don't want to give him anything too hard. You had 2 test runs. Get a lottery ticket, you dumb shit.
I got 1 wish left. I really hope that the cat litter I ordered from Amazon Prime shows up in 2 days. That's what I really hope for. I hope I get that 5% off on Subscribe and Save.
Yeah.
I'm wishing for that.
I need Count Telecki to go to the post office for me and hassle the person at the front desk.
Why do you use yourself as the test dummy? Right? You have Floyd and Goober right next to you. Why not have one of them do the test run? Why? Because you can't give Floyd the power of wishes. Right?
No.
Floyd would abuse that. But Goober would just wish for like a ham sandwich, and then he would get a ham sandwich, and then you know that magic is real. And Goober has a ham sandwich, and everybody's happy.
Just Floyd.
I want a ham sandwich. Dan, can you make me a ham sandwich?
I'll make you a fucking ham sandwich.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Dan. My wish came true.
Season 5 Floyd would probably wish for something as dumb as a ham sandwich. He'd be like, oh, I wish that my combs were clean when I went in tomorrow. Season 2 Floyd, he's got, like, he is declaring himself God Emperor of Earth, and there are, like, concubines and war elephants, and that man just goes full Doctor Doom 10 minutes in.
Like within a second, he's just, like, got his barber vest, like, wide open, just ripped, like Craven the Hunter. Just like hanging out on a gold throne. No, his that's still a barber chair. Just has a gold barber chair. Floyd is all hail Floyd, Emperor of the Universe.
Floyd, King of Barbers. Floyd, God Emperor of Barbers. May hair forever tremble in his wake. But no, this sleepy bitch would just, also wish for a ham sandwich.
So again, like, why use it on yourself, Barney? Anyway, Barney gets his fingerprint kit that he already ordered. And then finally the next day, like, Barney's full on convinced, all right, magic is fucking real. I have the power to, but also, like, I only got 1 and this bitch child got 3, which I'm sure it's interesting to me that he's not jealous of this. Right?
Yeah.
Like, other writers would have done, like, him being jealous about this. No. Instead, he's very chill about it. Opie runs in and is like, hey, I've got an idea for my 3rd wish, but I don't think it's going to happen. It's about Miss Crump. And Barney now makes the natural assumption that, okay, he's going to, like, Opie's wishing for them to get married and for him to have a new mom. And that's where Barney goes, don't worry about it, Ope. It's going to happen. You wished for it. It's going to happen. And then Barney does his fucking Barney thing.
Just tells everybody. And at this point, like, Andy and Helen Crump are, like, drinking tea together. Like, they're totally cool and, like, talking bemusedly about what a dipshit Barney is. Barney's entire motivation on this episode is magic is real, and I want to prove, not even to anybody else, but really just to myself, that magic is real. He could really give a shit about, like, even Andy and Helen Crump getting married, which has been his sole focus for, like, half the fucking season, is just like, he's not even invested in that anymore. He's just like, I'm just invested in, like, proving that Count Telecki is real and magic. Like, I could give a fuck.
He is the Fox Mulder, and everybody else has to be like season 1 Agent Scully, where all the magic stuff happens when I'm just out of frame.
Yeah. It's been a while since I watched the X-Files, but the only way that show could possibly make sense to me, with, like, the thing of, like, Scully, like, witnesses definitive proof that God exists, like, 3 times in the first 2 seasons.
No, she doesn't. I'm watching the X-Files right now, and Scully is always just in the other room when the weird thing happens. She's always just upstairs. But by the end of season 1, like, they have to bend over backwards and make Scully seem like the dumbest woman alive, that she's still on that kick.
The only way the show makes sense is if you are seeing 1 out of every 15 cases, and the other 14 are just Mulder just throwing shit at the walls.
It's just Mulder yelling at balloons. Yeah, absolutely.
We've got a hostage situation in Reno. Well, that must be the result of the hostage-taking ghost that's possessed this man. Nope, Mulder, and 4 people are dead because you tried some bullshit. All right. And the next one, I'm sure this is the one that'll be aliens. Like, that's the only reason for her skepticism, is that we're just missing all the times that he's a monumental dumbass.
I like this theory. That's a good headcanon. It makes perfect sense. All right. So Barney's telling everybody that they're going to get married, da-da-da-da. And then Andy and Helen, like, this all kind of comes to a head when Andy and Helen confront Barney, and they're like, okay, man, all the other magic stuff worked out. This one ain't happening. It's not going to happen, buddy. Like, we've told you 1,000,000 times. Keep it the fuck out of this.
Their defining trait as a couple is now we both agree that we don't want to get married. Like, it is their defining characteristic. They're like it's top of the list. Like, we are both not interested in that shit. Everything that's like, oh yeah, we also like to go on picnics and stuff, and I like you as a person. But importantly, you are the person in town that doesn't want to fucking marry me. And that is what I like about you.
Listen, how many episodes has Helen been in at this point? Can't be more than 10. At least 4 of them rotate around this theme of them not wanting to get married. Like,
yes.
It's a good portion of their relationship. It's like how much time in my relationship is spent deciding what we're going to have for dinner.
It's the happiest they are with each other is when they're agreeing to not get married. They just are like, hey, you don't want to get married, right? No, hell yeah, I don't. And it's like, fuck yeah. And then they high five and be like, never getting married. It's their favorite topic is how they're not doing it. Like they probably just hang out at home and be like, more coffee, woman that will never be my wife. And absolutely, thank you, man that I will never call my husband. Get in here.
So Barney says that he's upset. He's like, well, I guess this one isn't going to work out. Enter Opie, and they're like, hey, man, listen, about that wish. For the 4th time, I'm going to have to tell you, you don't have a new mom. And then Opie's like, yeah, I don't give a shit, man. I didn't wish for that at all. I just wanted help. That wasn't what I wished for. And they go, not. And he says, no, I wished that Miss Crump would be my teacher next year. Probably because Miss Crump gives me B's when I don't fucking deserve them. Mm-hmm. So he wished that Miss Crump was going to be his teacher next year. But I don't think that's going to happen. Like, zoom in on Miss Crump's face, on Helen's face, and she says, I was told this afternoon that I was being transferred to the 6th grade. And then they cut to commercial.
Hard black. Magic is real in the Andy Griffith Show.
So that's it. Like, Opie made like an offhanded wish, like an offhanded comment, and it changed the trajectory of this woman's career slightly. Like,
yeah.
And now
Which,
she will be his teacher in the 6th grade.
Which I'm gonna say, yet another blown wish. This time justifiable because it's from a fucking child. But also, like, yeah, this is probably his best shot at getting into college, is having 2 years of a teacher that his dad is fucking. Like,
I mean, he already got a knife and he got to go to the zoo. All right, so for a 10-year-old, those are pretty good wishes. Like, he's having a great week.
Honestly, yeah, that would be a priority for me.
I would be happy if I got a pocket knife and I got to go to the zoo this week. Like,
honestly, at 10, I would have been happy with just the knife. You could have been like, all right, you get 3 wishes. I'd be like, I'm good, man. You can keep the other 2. I got this fucking knife.
Stinger is that Andy and Helen are now playing with the tarot card game essentially themselves. And Helen jokingly is like, okay, well, I guess I'll wish for what Opie didn't wish for. And now they have to talk about actually getting married, and which is weird. They don't seem like super flirty. This doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And then Barney walks in and is like, listen, guys, I had nothing to fucking do with this. This was not me. This was not me. I swear to God. And he hands him the newspaper, and the newspaper says, the newspaper has a wedding announcement from Helen and Andy, probably in June. And that's just how they end the episode.
Not more, it's boom, boom, boom. Like, it's dramatic Twilight Zone music is what it goes out on.
This will never be mentioned again.
Nope.
The fact that they have a magical device that is just hanging out in the back room that is capable of granting wishes based on the spirit of a very generous Nazi collaborator.
Yeah.
What happens when Otis gets that thing, man?
I mean, he's just gonna wish for a flask that is never empty.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy one, yeah.
And then he's happy. You know why Count Telecki is so happy to grant wishes in this town? It's white as hell.
That's true.
Yeah, that's why he's so receptive. He was like, oh, finally, now I'll help you guys out. This place seems kick-ass.
If they had, like, unearthed that chest in, like, Atlanta, would have been
like, no, keep walking.
Wouldn't have been chill. Can't give wishes to that element, is what Count Telecki says.
You just see a trespassers will be shot sign on the lamp.
Jesus. So that's it. That's this episode. Ratings, Dan.
Andy meter 10, motherfucker. This episode
is so good.
It's basically one of the lighter episodes of the Twilight Zone. Like, it kind of has that vibe. It's really well written. Like, not just for this show, but in general. The have you ever seen that lamp conversation? Genuinely really funny.
It's very funny.
Honestly, the direction has like a little bit more kick to it than they normally do. The way that they shoot the seance scene where Barney, Floyd, and Goober are sitting in the dark, and then you hear the heavy footsteps come in as something is placed on the desk. The way that they frame all 3 guys in the darkness hearing it is fantastic.
It's well made. It's legitimately well made. Howard Morris finally really stepping into that director's chair, doing some interesting stuff.
Yeah, the way the Don Knotts is in the fucking pocket in how he is reacting to the supernatural stuff, and Howard Morris knows how to like really amplify everything Don Knotts is doing. Like the way that he's processing all of this supernatural stuff, you can actually get a sense of like how this is happening to him. Like when he starts like shaking with intensity, you get a sense of like, all right, I can kind of see the chemical reaction happening in this guy's brain. Like somebody just dropped some Mentos into some Coke in this guy. I
think it also uses like Andy's recent Xanax tour effectively. Because Andy's the narrator, right? Andy's not much is happening to Andy. He's relaying the story that he heard. So he only has to get a little mad. He only has to do any real acting for the first little bit. So I think, strangely enough, like the limited amount of Andy in this episode makes him very useful.
Another useful thing of the flashback thing is there is a point where it is between Andy's second wish and the seance that Barney holds. And Andy just goes like, and, as you can imagine, Barney got really riled up and yelled a bunch of bullshit after that. And it's kind of like, oh, cool, you could just skip over the bad part of the episodes with this. Like, Andy just goes like, all right, and then you're like, yada, yada, yada. I don't have to show it to you, and let's get back onto the good part.
Yeah, this is also the best that Anita Coruscant has been when she gets really mad at the beginning. That's like the best little bit of her. The only thing we're really missing is some Aunt B. The only thing we're missing is letting Aunt B do anything, which that would be my wish. That would be my wish.
What would she have brought to the table?
She would have not. There'd be nothing. There'd be nothing for her.
There was. I think even at like the best Aunt B is treated during this, she would have just been like, "Oh, when I was a girl, we had magic," and then she's out of the fucking episode.
So yeah, I mean, I also have to give the episode a 10. It rules. It's so weird. It's so Andy Griffith show. Like, the ones we like the most are the ones that are just so out of left field. So
fucking weird.
Yeah, so 10 for this. All right, you're going to get mad at me for this, but before we do the Barney meter, I do need to remind you that the Nazi thing is a thing that we made up. It is not in the canon in the episode. Yeah. Okay? Just got to remind you of that. It is not actually the spirit of a Nazi. So that said, Barney meter, I got to give it a 0, right? Like, there's nothing.
I'm going to say, so we glossed over it pretty hard. There is some representations of the Roma and Middle Eastern people.
They use the slur that people don't think is a slur. But
yeah, and it's not a lot. It's not they don't lean on it really hard. It is there. It's I'd say just a 1 based off of that, just to
Yeah.
Just,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
but that's
that
it.
might have put me on a 1. Yeah, that's it. It's a good episode. I liked watching it. It's so weird. It's so freaking weird. And that's it for us. Really, yeah. That's it for us. Thanks
this
everybody.
Is like the happiest I've ever been at the end of one of these recordings. Like, just nothing bad happened.
We're just chilling out. We're just chill.
It's weird. I'm just hanging out with my good friend, the Andy Griffith Show. What the fuck is going on? Like, me and Andy are gonna go for a beer after this? What the fuck?
I might actually just go fishing. Like, it might happen.
Yeah.
All right, that is it for us. Remember, you can support us with your money dollars at patreon.com/breakingmayberry. And right now, all of the funds we get this month are going to help striking writers and actors. And you can also, on our Gumroad site, download all of our bonus episodes if you don't want to spend the money on the Patreon thing. But if you do spend the money on the Patreon, you can make us watch stuff. You can hang out in our Discord. You can watch in real time as I expose Dan to Heathcliff comics. And he learns what Heathcliff is all about. That was a fun thing we did this week.
We should really print out that whole interaction, because it is just a descent into madness as the people on our Discord just expose me kind of slowly to the madness of Heathcliff. They're like, oh, he's wearing a helmet that says ham. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And then it's just followed by, if you think that's weird, check out this comic. And I'm like, that also is crazy. And it's just, well, check this one out. And that happens over the course of 6 hours as I was supposed to be doing my job.
And that is it. I really don't know how to end this anymore without plugging our stuff. I'm on Blue Sky. I'll probably use my one Blue Sky invite to put us on Blue Sky, but that's about it. If you like the show, give us a rating and review. Tell your friends. That is it for us. We'll see you all down at the fishing hole.